Say in spirituality, you always talk of something beyond space-time. It's a very common thing to talk of. When you think of space, our intuitive way of understanding space is that it is a continuum, that it is a smooth fabric. But there are many indications, it's not that it is proved kind of thing, but there are many indications which show that what we call as space is not an absolutely smooth fabric, but it is pixelated, like your computer screen. In that they call it quantum geometry. Quantum geometry means space-time. Quantum means it is pixelated. When you consider actual fabric, a piece of cloth, which looks smooth to you, to the superficial eye, it looks smooth and nice. There are no gaps in between, it looks like a continuum. You can't make out that it is made up of discrete threads. It looks like a continuum. But if you stretch it from both sides, you will start seeing individual threads. Both horizontal and vertical, you will start seeing threads, and you will start seeing the gap between threads. So you will know that it's not a continuum. It's made up of discrete threads. With the fabric, with the cloth example, you very easily understand it, because between the threads, there is empty space. But now if you convert space itself into a fabric, space is made up of discrete threads. If you stretch that space fabric, the space fabric, individual threads of space, the thread itself is the space. Is becoming evident, one space of thread, another space of thread. Now, what do you mean by that gap between the space? You're following this? I'm saying space itself is a fabric. And if you stretch it, it is possible to stretch it in extreme conditions of gravity or whatever. If it is stretched, and the pixels, the individual pixels of space get stretched, and the gap between the pixels of space become evident, the question is, what is that gap? It's no more space, because the pixel itself is the space. So what is that gap? How do you understand that gap between space itself? First of all, the question itself is intriguing. Is there a between for them? Because between necessarily again means space. Your logic will break down if you really think of it. You can't even ask a question properly. The purpose of these questions is just to extricate yourself from the world of relativity in which logic works. Logic will work only in the world of relativity, of data, where there are differences, where there are contrasts, where you have reference points, this and that. Logic can function only in this, but when you ask certain questions, logically only, you can be made to come to the edge of this world of relativity. Meaning where logic will finally come and arrest itself, where it doesn't know what next to do. Now, I want to ask you another question. When you pull a fabric of cloth, you can see many holes. So each hole is distinctly different from the other hole. It's a different point in space. Fabric is in space. So when you stretch the fabric, it showed different holes within the fabric. One hole is distinct from the other. It is a distinct point in space. But now, if you stretch the space fabric itself, And if you said it has holes, it has pixels, and between the pixels there are holes, how is one hole different from the other? If you say one hole is different from the other, it implies space again. This hole in the space fabric and this particular hole in the space fabric, they can't be different points. If it can't be different points, it means both of them are the same point. It will lead you to some kind of absoluteness. The gap between the space pixel here and the gap between the space pixels wherever you are sitting, they are the same point. That's all you can tell psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
Intellectually, with whatever faculties we have, if we attempt to visualize this, we will fail. We can't visualize this, but we will go to the edge of the intellect. We will go to the very edge of the intellect if we take such things. Why I gave that example is in spirituality, when they say the divine is beyond space-time, immediately mind is projecting a distance, that it is outside universe at a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You have to travel a lot of distance to go beyond space. So it is thought of in terms of distance, which I'm just trying to negate, that beyond space is not, it doesn't, beyond space does not come after a lot of space. Beyond space, beyond space is right here between space. The space is already pixelated. It is the discrete entity. So it is already having gaps in between. That gap is beyond space. And we're already in it. It's not that the gaps in space exist only in some places. Wherever you are sitting right now, wherever you are saying me, right there, there is space and there is beyond space. It's not somewhere at a distance. I'm telling this because these are the kinds of things which bring me to a point of a potent blankness. Only when you come to a potent stillness, we call it meditation actually. It's neither blank in the sense of dullness, nor is it energy in the sense of activity. I'm not trying to give you theory. I'm just trying to make you come to a question, because this is one of the things that helped me. I find it helpful to me. If it doesn't help you, you leave it.